Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me today in the Locker Room. I'm Alan Locher. 22 years ago, this past Monday, Passions made its television debut on July 5th, 1999, and ran on NBC until September 7th, 2007. The show jumped to DirecTV from September of 2007 until August of 2008. The show was created by the legendary James E. Riley and followed the lives, loves, and various romantic and paranormal adventures of the residents of Harmony. Passion's storyline centered on the members of its multiracial core families, the Russells, the Cranes, the Bennetts, the Irish Lopez-Fitzgeralds, and the series also featured the supernatural elements, which focused mainly on the town witch Tabitha and her doll come to life, Timmy. Let's get started, everybody. Please welcome to the Locker Room Charles Divins, who played Chad Harris Crane, Galen Gering, who played Louis Lopez-Fitzgerald, Lindsay Korman-Hartley, who played Theresa Lopez-Fitzgerald, Brook Kerr, who played Whitney Russell, Eric Martsolf, who played Ethan Winthrop, and McKenzie Westmore, who played Sheridan Crane. Here we go. Everybody. There we go. Everybody's on screen.
Hey.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
As I was telling everybody, fans have been hanging out on YouTube for an hour, chit-chatting about the show and all that they miss. So speaking of all that you miss, when I mention the word Passions, what immediately comes to mind? Brooke?
Oh, I think about how going to work was fun every day. You never dreaded going to work. There was always everybody, the guys were always so fun and entertaining. And, me and Lindsay became best friends, and it just, and we didn't take ourselves too seriously. We all started off at the same time. So we were all in this thing together. So we really took ownership of it, I think.
Great. Lindsay?
Yeah, I had to jump on what Brooke said. I think starting something from the ground up was pretty special, and it definitely built a bond for everyone. Is a team effort, and we definitely enjoyed the storylines and had many laughs at what we were doing. Yeah, it was hard to take it seriously sometimes. A lot of the time, we tried to. We were serious when we were working, sort of. Yeah. You
have to take it serious. You have to take it serious when you have to do it.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Charles, what about you, Charles?
Yeah, I mean, the laughs are top of mind for me. Family. I came in a couple of years after it already started, so you guys had developed that family, but it was kind of like I was, welcomed right in, and you could just see the love for each other and the respect and just the playfulness. I mean, talk about laughs. I'm looking at Galen, just that grin. I remember that grin every scene, every time you walked in there. It left the room. It was too much. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Well, it seems like everybody's got that same feeling. So I know McKenzie and a lot of you all were there from the beginning. Eric and Charles, I think, came in 2002, but everybody else. McKenzie, what do you remember about the audition, screen test, whatever you had to do at that time? And, just take us back. What do you remember about them, hearing what Sheridan Crane was going to be about?
Well, Gwen. I auditioned for the role of Gwen, and I auditioned a couple times. I want to say 3 or 4 times, kept getting called in for Gwen. And I remember sitting in the waiting room one day and seeing Liza Huber walk through her daughter, and I was like, well, I'm not getting this role. So I'm screwed on this one. Because I knew she was reading for it, and I was like, well, all right, on to the next show. So then they called me in for Sheridan. I was so honored that I had executive producers that were creative and could see beyond. And they all said, she doesn't really read as Gwen. Let's bring her in as Sheridan. And so then it was another 3 to 4 auditions. So my audition started in 1998, December of 1998. And then I finally got a phone call that I got Sheridan on April 26, 1999. So wow. It was a surreal, long process. And Galen, did we read together? I don't even remember if we read together.
We did, yeah.
We did?
Yeah, we did.
I'm totally blanking on that.
Memorable.
Yeah, sure. Well,
We're so auditions. I went through so many freaking auditions that it's like, I remember the timeline, but like the minutia is a blur for me.
And Galen, what about you and your, audition process for this?
Yeah, it was nuts because I was actually in my final semester at film school at University of Miami.
Yeah.
Right.
So, it came about that they were like, oh, they want you to fly out to screen test for the show, which I didn't even want to really audition for in the first place. No offense to the show. I'm so glad it all happened, but I was like, I was busting my ass to do this whole film thing and write and direct. And then, anyway, so I ended up flying out there. I did the screen test and then didn't hear anything. I was like, okay, cool. Clearly screwed that up. Nothing's happening. And then a few weeks later, they were like, oh, they want you to fly back out. And I was like, oh, I'm in the final semester. I already had so much work with school. I was like, how am I going to get this done? I go out there and I got to test with McKenzie and with Ben Masters. So everything with McKenzie was great. Like, no problem. Like, we just like had a romantic relationship to a certain degree. Like, that was a thing. You have to have this chemistry. Obviously, we had great chemistry. But with Ben, it was this adversarial thing, and he was just such a good actor. I didn't even know what the hell I was doing, and so he was just rushing me. I think the clip fell out of the gun in the audition, and I was just like, it took me like 14 takes. So again, I was like, okay, this is a wrap. I'm done. And I don't know. I think I must have looked enough like Jesse and Lindsay and Ava that they were like, oh, we got to cast him because he looks like he's in the family. And that's how I ended up getting the job.
Well, it's also, when you, like you said, you didn't really know that you wanted it. It's kind of like, that's the perfect way to get something too. And, it sort of comes into your lap.
No question.
Before I go on, because one of our fans had written to me, Grant was curious if anyone keeps in touch with Ben Masters.
I have tried to find him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No idea where he is.
Okay.
He,
We all tried.
Yeah, like literally, he's kept up this ruse as like, a crane who just disappeared off the freaking face of the earth.
Right. He totally
I don't
is.
know. Like, I would love to hug that guy right now. Like,
I agree.
amazing.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Lindsay, what do you remember about your audition?
Oh, geez. Well, the initial audition, I was just in a room with the casting person, and I hadn't really auditioned much for just like straight television. I'd done a lot of like musicals and things like that. So I get in there and like she's looking at my resume and it's like all musicals or whatever. And she said, this is straight like TV. This isn't like musicals. Like, I'd just done Broadway. Like, it was pretty. I was, that was kind of a big deal. But coming here, she really made me feel very uncomfortable starting. So it's like, this is going to be awful. Like, she doesn't even like me. Like, the whole, like, she's telling me straight up that I'm not going to be right for the part. So I auditioned. She's like, oh, okay. Well, and then I get a call back, but that's it. I went straight to the test, like super fast. I was one of the last cast character, or the last, I think, cast character. And I did the screen test, and we were with, I don't know, when you guys did you guys screen test with like a bunch of different people? I had all of the Theresas we were all in the same room together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like waiting with our clothes to pick. They pick out your clothes for you that you bring and to like wear. And I had a big day. I was with Brook that day and Travis that day. And Galen, did we screen test or no?
No.
I didn't do the sibling one. I wonder, I couldn't remember if it, but I had it wasn't just for my love interest. It was also Brook. Maybe it was Jesse then. I don't know. I feel like it was like it was a pretty big day. And then I was so nervous. I went in the car and I cried.
Oh.
I was nervous. I just turned 21. Like, I was, super, super young. So it was kind of a big deal. And it was my first like TV audition, and it was crazy. It was great that it was really cool.
And you got it. Your first TV audition, and you got it.
Yeah, I was pretty blessed. The whole Passions run, have a child out of it. You know what I mean? It's like friends for life. Yeah. It's been I'll never forget it. Obviously, it's been an incredible experience, and forever I'll be indebted to Passions.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And Charles and Eric, you came in 2002, and Charles, did you have to screen test with Brooke?
Yeah. I think it was, on set. It was obviously a more established type of thing, but yeah, screen test with Brooke. I remember being in the room with all the other Chad, wannabes, and we all to get out there. And I think we did it a few times. I do remember going out and then back with the notes to do whatever you can. But I was living in New York. I kind of like Galen. I was like, well, it was kind of like my first TV audition as well, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I don't even remember a whole lot of it because I blanked it out. It was just like, oh, this is done. I got back on a plane and went to New York.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot. That moment is always a big deal. That last screen test is always a big moment.
Oof! I can imagine the sweaty pits.
I gotta say,
Passions was everything.
Passions was my final audition before I was leaving the acting world.
Oh, really?
That was it for me. Yeah, that was it for me. I had been accepted to Juilliard and the Cincinnati Conservatory of Music, and this was it. This was my last hurrah before I was like, this is the last one, going to college.
McKenzie, you're not the first person who I've had on the show who basically said that, like their last moment of were about walking out the door. Eric, for you, did you screen test with Lindsay?
I did. I think my process was a little different. I started off having, first of all, to apologize to this guy that Lindsay was actually dating at the time. Because this is true. I was working with one of her ex-boyfriends at Universal Studios in this drumming show. And I get the call from the agent. And, in the green room with him, and I look at him. I'm like, I think I gotta have a scene tomorrow. I have a testing with your girl, I think, tomorrow, and there might be some room. I don't know what we're doing. He's like, I just want to let you know, because if you're not cool with it, I won't go. And he's like, no, it's fine. And so I went, and Lindsay actually, she was on the phone with me for I think maybe 2.5 hours the night before of the audition.
Oh wow!
And called her up.
Wow.
And she was so sweet, and she just gave all of her time, told me the ins and outs of everything. It was my first TV gig as well, so I was nervous, and we I went in there, and I just liked her immediately, and I knew that the audition was so easy. Remember, Grant came down and he was like, "Okay, I don't have any. Just do it again. Just do whatever you did. Just do it again." It felt good. It felt really good, and yeah, it worked out.
Eric, if you can, I think some fans are having trouble too hearing. Just move a little closer to the mic, maybe.
You were right.
I love that it was so many of your first experiences. So, the show debuted July 5th, 1999, which I think is so different. A lot of you have jumped to Days of Our Lives, like you're joining an already established show, but here's Passions about to make its, TV debut. What do you remember about like those first days on set? Because I'm sure everybody was finding their way, from actors to, costumes to, the whole crew, because you're all just sort of getting into it for the first time. McKenzie, what strikes, what memories do you have of those first days?
My first days were actually spent in Paris. Those were my first days on camera. It was pretty surreal to get the phone call that I got the job, and do you have an up-to-date passport because you're leaving in a week for France? It's like, what? Hold on now, what? It was such a whirlwind. And I remember getting on that plane. It was like my first flight by myself, and getting there and not knowing anybody. And I remember being, I think I met my original love interest, Jean-Luc, was there waiting for me, and it was like, hi, and it just was so weird and surreal, and things were done so backwards in France too. We were doing so many illegal things, and we were getting chased by the cops and having to jump in vans and run off from the police, and it was just nuts. My first week of filming was nuts. It was insane.
And was that you being chased sort of through the same tunnel that Diana was? Is that?
Well, no, two separate things. First of all,
two separate.
We didn't have filming permits, And they would just drop me off out of a van and say, and run the camera, and they'd drive around until the police came to find us, and we take off. So that was one. No, going through the tunnel, that really was the tunnel that Princess Diana went through. And I remember I had to go in that big drive, and I broke out in hives.
Wow.
That was really, really frightening. And it's funny to be married to a Parisian now, because he laughs when I tell him driving in that thing. Like, I literally broke out in hives, the fear. And then to go into that tunnel and talking to the people in that lived around there, just it was eerie. It was very eerie.
Wow. Galen, what do you remember about your first days on set?
I remember there was a lot of disarray and confusion about what we were going to shoot, when.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of people were like, this kind of sucks. Like, we're sitting around all day and this other chick's shooting in Paris. Like, what the hell is this?
Don't shoot me.
Right. And
you got to go to Oxnard, remember?
I know.
Yeah, we're in freaking Oxnard, like some crappy thing. I do remember one of the classic moments was, you know, I'm playing this cop and coming in, I got to familiarize myself with all the gear, and you know, Jesse Metcalf and I had such a brotherly relationship. And I was like, let me just try the handcuffs on you, and so I did, and I handcuffed him to a bench, and then like we've been. Yeah, as luck would have it, we've been waiting like 6 hours to shoot, right? Like, oh, you guys are up soon. And we're sitting there like, oh my God. So I hang up to a bench, and then they're like, we're ready, come on. And I was like, I need a key. And then they're like, what? And then Jesse's like, bro, I told you. What are you doing, dude? And I was like, oh, just a key, bro, chill out. And then literally it took them like 15 minutes when it seemed like 15 hours to find the key to get it. So like they were so mad at me. I was like, oh, I'm gonna get fired on the first day. Great. Yeah, it was, and then we were, you know, I was just coming from Florida, and James, who was playing Sam Bennett, was coming from New York, and Jesse was coming, where the hell was he? New York, maybe also? I think he was in New York also. So none of us had places to stay. So we were in Oxnard for a week, and then we had to go to LA. So we were trying to find apartments, and it was the whole thing. It was kind of stressful, but.
McKenzie, I must add, you must have been happy, I guess, that Liza got her role and you got yours.
Yeah. The first week of filming, yeah. When I heard that everybody was in Oxnard, I felt really. I obviously I felt bad, but at the same time, I'm like, all right, cool, to France.
I'm going to France. So, Brooke, what do you remember about your first days there?
Oh, it was Oxnard, and I think my first introduction is we were doing our pictures, like our press pictures.
Press, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, and it was in Oxnard, and I remember it was a huge deal to have a core African-American family. So it was, you know, with prominent jobs and, you know, all of that. And so that was my first, and we were taking these pictures, and it was just, everybody was just so, especially the people that played my parents, Tracy and Rodney, how, you know, iconic and wonderful it was. And this is back in 1999, you know, but it was first the pictures, and then it was the carnival. Was it the carnival?
Yeah.
Yeah. Carnival. And I just remember the one outfit that I was in, and the prop food was like Chinese food.
It was
every day, just that smell. It was just like Chinese food.
Ooh.
And getting to know these new people in Oxnard, going to a hotel. It was surreal, but it obviously very exciting.
You just mentioned, you know, it was 1999 and having a complete family, a Black family on a show. What was the reaction? What do you remember about the reaction from, you know, because as we all say, and it's true, representation matters.
Oh, absolutely. I heard it all the time that, you know, it's so nice to see somebody that looks like me on TV, and, you know, they're not struggling, or, you know, it's not some, I don't know, like they're not in jail. My mom was a doctor. My father was a tennis coach. I was the Wimbledon coming up.
Of course you were.
Right, exactly. And we had when we did get back to where we were shooting in CBS Radford, we had a set, we had a nice house, so it was just a beautiful thing, and everybody just loved the fact that they could see people that looked like them on TV.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about the color. We were talking about real life stuff, it wasn't brought up. It was just happens to be.
Yeah.
I'm a little darker than her, And
You were just living your lives, which is what people should see. You were just living your lives.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was Whitney. I wasn't African American with Whitney,
Yeah.
And that felt wonderful, and people could feel that, and they loved it.
That's awesome. Lindsay, what do you remember about your first days?
Geez, just that we went to Oxnard, which was super fun to be like on location, even though it was just a drive away from Los Angeles, but it was fun. It's where I met Brooke, and we like clicked like pretty much right away. Had some good times there, and then came back, and we did. It was kind of what I remember primarily is how they shot it. We did the exteriors of, again, this was my first TV show, so I didn't understand or know that they would even shoot things at different times or whatever. So we did exteriors in Oxnard, and then we did the interiors on set at CBS, and that's where the Chinese food permeated the set.
Oh, was it?
We got it on Ventura, which is still, I think, open, for crying out loud. And and we would have all the interiors, and I think we did that for weeks. I don't know, maybe almost, was it like 6 weeks or something? Because all our nights went on forever on Passions,
Yeah.
Literal day, and our clothing was like we would wear it for 6 to 8 weeks sometimes, and say the same exact dialogue with a little bit of a change. And that my first end of episode 1, I do remember this too, is that at the very end, I tell Whitney, "Oh my God, you're never going to believe it." She's like, "What?" And I said, "I'm going to marry Ethan Crane, or I'm getting married to Ethan Crane or something." And then, which I obviously wasn't in any way, shape, or form. And then and then I would literally say that line like 3 billion times through the course of the 9 years. And I had to figure out a new way. What?
And also, since it was a new show, we were establishing our characters.
Oh, that's right. That's a good point.
I said Theresa Lopez-Fitzgerald, like 97.
Oh my God.
We did have to say our names a lot.
Funny.
All the way through.
Yeah.
That's a good
That's
point.
so interesting. So getting people used to all of the names. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it.
Lindsay, wasn't?
Oh yeah, that's why
wasn't
I think
also,
it's. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, you had like the cannery, right? Or was that later when you went to work at the cannery with the fish? Like you had to do all the stuff with the dead fish and everything.
Yeah, that was gross. We had real fish, dead fish on there. Yeah, I don't like fish.
Yeah.
I had all those jobs, so I did all that crap in the beginning of the film. Yeah, that was gross.
Yeah.
Real friggin' dead fish. It stunk up the place.
Oh,
that was
Did
bad.
somebody have to teach you?
It was bad. I mean, just the director. Like, I think I kind of want to say Fido might have been doing that, or I don't know, or maybe Jim Sayer, or I don't know. But yeah, it was pretty gross, but fun.
But it's so interesting, though. Like again, introducing a whole new show. So the different things that you have to do, like the folks here who went to Days, you didn't have to come in and say your full name 100 times.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I was a new character, so it kind of. I mean.
Oh, you were.
But not. I mean, listen. No one did it like Passions did. You would say the same shit over and over, day in and day out. You're like, I'm gonna kill myself. But also, I think ultimately, like that was part of the charm of the show. Was like it's ridiculous. It knew what it was doing, and I think that's one of the things that fans really responded to. It was so over the top and insane. And
well, I think
sorry, go ahead.
Jim knew what he was doing. James Riley. Yeah. I mean, he definitely did. Eric, what do you remember about coming in to this group that was already there?
Well, first of all, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay.
I can. I hope everybody else can too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was very nervous. I had a background like Lindsay did. I very much had the same issue with coming right from. I came from a Broadway tour, for God's sakes. I was playing the Pharaoh and Joseph, so I was used to performing up here to Rosie Z in the back of theaters.
Rosie Z, I love that.
My first,
Yeah.
there is a Z in most theaters. And it was when Theresa was being executed by lethal injection. That was my first day. I'm like,
Oh my God! With the she was like,
yes,
Oh my
on the
God,
stage, went
it's
backwards.
terrible.
in the
Yes.
thing.
Oh, I
That was
remember that.
awful.
And I got Natalie Z like holding my hand, and my first question was, "Wait, what are you doing? Aren't I in love with her?" And she's like, "Yeah, but I'm also your wife." I'm like, "Oh, okay, got it." Not a lot of backstory was given to me at the time. But I remember saying my first line, and I said it. Everyone else was like, "I can't believe this is happening to Theresa. I know, I'm really upset." Cut to me going, "Damn that Alistair." And Karen Wilkins comes down during the break. She said, "Listen, man, you can bring it like 6,000 times down."
Oh my God!
So she adjusted me, and thank God that people were willing to put up with our greenness, so to speak, during that time. I feel like nowadays, when you get on a set, you better hit a home run right off the bat. I feel like Passions was willing to cultivate us as actors, because we weren't all Robert De Niro coming out of the gate. And I just thank my lucky stars that they were patient, with us in that sense, because I don't know if that patience and that tolerance is around these days. So happy about that.
Charles, for you, your first days on set?
My first days on set, it was really bittersweet for me, because I remember we kind of did some, run-throughs, and then I showed up for my first week on set, and I showed up to the studio, and I remember there was a sign on the door, and it's like, production stopped. I'm like, oh no, did this show get canceled like as soon as I moved from New York here? And it just so happened it was the week that Josh had passed away. And that was like my introduction into the show. And I just remember, just trying to like cope with this family that had lost a member as I'm joining it. And it was, the best of times and the worst of times all mixed together.
Wow. That would be a tough time to show up on set. Well, speaking of him, can anybody share some memories of what he was like?
Oh man,
sweetheart.
He had the best laugh. I can still remember actually one of my sort of favorite stories. We didn't work together a lot on set because we had entirely different storylines. And he worked so much with Juliet. And anyway, we used to play this stupid video game in the rooms. What the hell was that called? It was this boxing video game, and we would get so fired up, James, myself, and Dalton in particular, that we would break furniture, smash stuff, whatever. And one day, so we were on the second floor. One day, Dalton got so fired up, and he'd already like broken furniture and smashed a hairdryer and something, that he looked around the room and he grabbed a tennis ball. And he was actually a really good baseball player. He could like whip a ball, which I know from softball, which is a whole other classic story of Passions. But he was so frustrated, he just grabbed it and he whipped it out the door from the second floor, and it flew like 100 yards and hit Josh's mom right in the head. Whang!
For this, I remember.
And Josh was there, and she was like on set all the time and was a little bit, she was like the stage mom and looked out for him, but also anyway. Josh laughed so hard. I can still like hear him laughing to this day because we were freaked out. Like, she was like, oh, and he was like,
you took his mother out and he was cracking up.
He was hysterical.
It was so great. He just had this really infectious laugh. And
he did.
Yeah, he was a neat kid, man, and a great actor. And that was a sad story. It's really sad to have lost him.
He was a sweetheart. Yeah. I mean, I had a couple of scenes with him. I know that I was his first kiss. When Sheridan was, It was like, and I remember him being so nervous and he was so scared, and he was to be like my Prince Charming and kiss me and wake me up from the coffin that I was in. And I just remember talking to him beforehand, going, "It's okay, you just pucker your lips. I'm right here. We're gonna do this together. It's okay." I just remember having to like calm him down. It was just one of those sweet moments that I'll forever remember, because he was just so adorable.
That's not a bad first kiss, McKenzie.
No, definitely.
Thanks.
That's so funny. Did you all ever get to know James Riley or interact with him?
Galen,
No.
you and I met him once for 5 minutes in New York. That was it.
I met him in New York.
He was very elusive and
Yeah.
liked it that way.
I heard a rumor, didn't he just kind of pass and walk by set one day and people kind of saw him, and that was that? I heard that had happened.
I
He
don't know.
didn't say a thing. He just kind of
Could have.
I also heard that,
Like a ghostly.
yeah, Alan, I heard that he didn't really want to get to know cast members personally.
No.
Because it would detract from his ideas of what the characters were. He didn't want to know Eric. He wanted to know Ethan. So that was
Yeah, none of us existed. Only our characters did for him.
Yeah.
Well, if you
I
think
heard didn't he have little dolls as well that he used to? What are you talking about? I want to marry you. Didn't he? I heard that too.
really?
I
Are you making
had
that
heard
up?
that.
No.
No. This
That's
is
true.
a pretty pervasive rumor.
Wow.
I think Galen
I
told
don't
me.
know if it was true, but probably.
Fascinating. Did you all know the show would have the paranormal activity when you joined?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't.
No. Yeah.
I didn't know. Not in the beginning.
I didn't. Not in the beginning.
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Well,
well,
my
because they
first day
said
of
that this is,
What are you talking about?
They told you? Galen, they
yeah, well,
told
because I knew that Josh was a doll come to life, so, and that Tabitha was a witch, and that was
yeah.
established at the beginning.
know that.
That's a giveaway.
Huh?
Galen's like, I did 2 + 2. He's
None of us
she
did
was
that.
a witch.
No, we thought
I
it was.
mean, with that said, I don't think any of us thought that we'd be fighting demons from hell in the closet,
Right.
or
Ice
Past
skating.
lives.
any other instance. That there'd be a giant worm that came to attack town, and holy mackerel,
Oh my God.
tiburones, everything.
Tiburones, man.
That is so funny.
Tiburones, the sharks.
Galen and McKenzie, Sally was asking if Passions was still on the air, do you think your two characters would find their way back to each other?
Yeah, I mean, they probably wouldn't stay together, but they would. I mean, that was the whole journey for them, right? Was get together and be split up by the Cranes or
Of
whatever
course.
other thing could happen.
I see us as like co-parenting Marty. Like, you're still with Fancy, I still had to be with Antonio, which would really suck, and we'd be co-parenting, and somehow
Totally.
like we'd find each other back together and then get broken up again.
When
my
did
God.
you two realize the impact of Shuis? How do you say it? Shuis?
The tango, actually, our first tango was the one from, like, I had no clue where this is going. I just was in it for the ride and just was loving the ride. But I remember when Galen and I did the tango, and I remember seeing it air, and I was like, all right, there's something here. I think there's something here. I think this could be it. Because I had already felt like my career was over watching the Princess Diana storyline. I thought, this is the beginning and the end of my career. So the tango like saved me because that for me was like the moment where I was like, Shuis is, wow, okay.
And why did you think the Diana story had tanked? Was it just the sort of putting that on
Timing.
television? Yeah.
Yeah, the timing. It wasn't even a year after her death. And I mean, the timing, and I don't know why it didn't click when I was filming it, which is so stupid. I think I was just so excited. I was like a little puppy, so excited to be on set and doing something. But once I started to see it air and watching it with my parents, because I was like 20, and we'd sit down and watch it, and I just would be like, oh my God, this is the end of my career. I'm done. This is it. This show's going to go down. We're going to like get canceled. I'm going to like be blacklisted from Hollywood. This is horrible. So it just was the timing. It was more the timing.
Gotcha. it's fascinating. You all, three couples from the show here, you all seem to be really close. What do you think worked in each of your relationships? Brooke and Charles, Lindsay and Eric, and
well, have you talked to Eric? I mean, he's just like not funny. He's just like miserable to be around. I hated every moment. I said Eric is the funniest human being I have ever met in my life, hands down. I had the best time with Eric and love him to pieces.
That's not a sucky way to go to work, Lindsay.
No,
right?
I love Eric. Yeah. Good-hearted.
And I love her as well for very many of the same reasons. Lindsay is a goofball. She is absolutely a goof. And yeah, between my desire to want to goof around and her desire to want to laugh about it, I mean, it's the best audience member. Like,
yeah, it was fun.
But we also went through a lot of life together.
That's true.
During the show, and what bonds you more than family and kids and
true,
and the ups and the downs of it all. And we lived a lot of life in that 6 years that I worked with her. So you bond. That's what happened.
I mean, I can remember Eric getting Lindsay so wound up with the laugh attacks that she was crying and like they couldn't shoot, and the producer would be like,
stop down, touch up.
Yeah, like, oh my God. And she'd be like, oh, like just going kind of like she is now, but like way more. Those were a good time.
Yeah, Eric's funny.
She always had so much makeup on those big doe eyes of hers. They would run. It was on there.
Oh my God, Eric, you cracked me up. I mean, we had like personal stories too. Like Eric would walk in and tell me some story about his twin boys when they were babies, and he was like, "Yeah, did Isabella go through that?" And I'm like, "Nope, Bella slept all the way through the night." Then he'd come in like 6 months later. Yeah, the twin boys did this. Did Isabella do that? I'm like, nope, she X, Y, and Z. Like I had the easiest run with my daughter, and he always came and told me these stories about the twin boys.
He was the wrong person to talk to about raising children. And dream, never did anything wrong. So.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. We had good times.
And for you, Brooke, you and Charles?
Well, I mean, I think the fact that we played young love and forbidden love, you know what I mean? Anything that's forbidden is kind of like, ooh, yay, And I always love those moments that we were able to share together. I think that we had a nice give and take, a good connection on set for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Brooke is the most present person you'll ever meet. Like when you're around Brooke, there's like no one else in the room, right? And I think that kind of translated on screen and in life, and that connection was proper because she was there, she was listening, she was aware, she was living everything you did, and she dealt with me and put up with me for many years. So I appreciate you.
Honestly,
and McKenzie and Galen.
I gotta say, I could be having the absolute worst day of my life, which happened pretty often sometimes. Galen would cheer me up every single day. Anytime I walked into our set and our scenes, and like I said, I could be having the worst time, and he just was so funny and just such a pleasure and joy to be around. I couldn't help but feel great then. So Galen, thank you for that, because you got me through a lot.
Thank you. I feel like half of that's probably true. It was interesting because, our characters were kind of, we were from the opposite side of the tracks, and we were not supposed to be together. And so there was always this kind of like push-pull element too, and always like the hostility of dealing with her family. And so it was complex, but we did always have a great time and figured it out. And unlike the shows today where you get in and get out, like we would be there all day. I mean, you'd be in there at 6 in the morning or 6:30 in the morning. And sometimes, you wouldn't leave till 2 in the morning, but on average, it was probably like 10 at night or something.
Yeah.
So,
especially the first few years.
First few years. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a lot. So, and we got to spend a lot of time together, and I think that really not by choice. A lot of times, like we were put together, and you develop a relationship and a family, and I think that that's really part and parcel as to why the group really did become very closely knit.
Especially for most of you starting out, at the same level, really, because it was
correct
from the get, kicking the show off. And I can feel really the attachment you all have. You all worked for the executive producer Lisa DeCozat, who passed away way too early in 2019. What did you learn from her?
Oh, she was awesome. Super strong. Yeah. Passionate, clear-minded. She worked her buns off for the show.
Yeah.
And I really felt like she was down for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was her show, but also she was really down for her actors.
She fought for us.
Always open. Mm-hmm. She fought for us for sure, 100%, and it was palpable.
Yeah.
I mean, she was there from beginning to end as the executive producer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she loved that show. She had a crazy devotion for it, and for James Riley and also Richard Chilling. They were pretty much inseparable. And Denise Mark also. They were a force. I mean, that was considering when you think of the technological limitations too, like special effects wise and all that, and how they were really trying to push the envelope, and with regards to budget and time, like that was quite an undertaking for them to do all that stuff and deal with us on top of it.
We were like wrangling cats.
Well, I can only imagine, because so many of you said it was your first, TV audition, first role. What did the show or your character, and this comes from one of our fans, Amy, teach you about life, if anything?
Don't cheat on your wife.
Why? You had a happily ever after and ended up with the woman you wanted to be with.
I know. You're right. It did work out well.
And you can be crazy and you can do terrible things and you can attack women and try to steal their babies and still get the man of your dreams.
I'll tell you what. Ethan, if anything, he definitely was consistent with what he wanted. It may have taken him a long time to figure out what he did want. But, I guess the moral of the story is hang in there and don't give up. And he eventually found his happiness at the end. So he definitely has persistence as a character.
Well, talk about some of the biggest lessons you think you learned from Passions. Working on set, working with these people.
Work ethic. Yeah.
Work ethic. Yeah.
Woo.
Totally.
100%. Yeah.
Different director every day. That was another thing. Having a different set of eyes on you every day. That was a big one.
And our scenes were long.
Yeah.
We had 4 or 5 page scenes, which nowadays it doesn't even happen anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We carried a lot of material and on our shoulders, especially like we said, starting off from the beginning, and that will either make or break you, and you'll step up or you won't. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the work ethic part of it was huge, to just be like, okay, I have 5 pages of dialogue, and I need to keep them interested for the whole 5 pages. You know what I'm saying? That's huge, and I think that so basically down to work ethic for sure. They trusted us with it. They trusted us with that material.
That's a putting a lot of trust. So you have to live up to that trust, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So Kelly was asking, what are some of your favorite storylines? Or actually, I'd love to know some of your favorite storylines, but what was some of the other storylines on the show that you actually enjoyed watching, if there were some of those?
I love watching Tabitha and Timmy.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
We were never there at the same time. We were like Galen was saying, opposite storylines, really. So when their part would come on, I'm the fan because I'm like, oh, because you're watching yourself, and then it's like, oh yeah, let me see what's going on with them. I get to watch them, and it was never. Juliet is just mind-blowing.
Amazing. Yeah.
She's
Amazing.
amazing.
There was a storyline with Juliet and Ben and Timmy, and I somehow remember Ben Masters and Timmy in the back of a chicken truck, right? With the feathers and all these chickens in there, and they were on this crazy journey, and it all was like threaded through so great. I just was like, man, that was awesome. That was one of my favorite crazy stories. Looking back,
and some of your own. What were some of your
storyline? That one was crazy. Remember that? Your love interest?
which one?
Precious, right? Wasn't it called Precious?
Precious.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right. You're right.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
your love interest.
You guys were hot together, man. That was.
Yeah.
It was so fun when it would like regurgitate all the candy and ice blended that the trainers gave it in my face.
Yeah,
Love that.
Are you serious?
Great.
Oh, God.
Really.
that was
Or
great.
when it would squeeze the back of my arm so hard, like literally I'd have bruises. It would just like do that pinch thing. And the trainer would be like, "You can't show it. You can't let it see your like weakness." I'd be like, "Dude, it's killing me right now."
Literally one of the strongest mammals on the planet Earth. It's like,
Oh yeah.
I know.
what?
But yeah, I mean, I be in scenes, and it knew the difference between when there was when they would say action versus rehearsal. So rehearsal, it'd be like, oh, you know, is go to get a beer out of the fridge, and then come sit down, and then pat mama on the back or something to make her burp, whatever. So they say action. It'd go over the refrigerator, grab ketchup and mustard and squeeze it in its face, and then the trainers would be like, no, and then it would run up the side of the set and then hurl itself off the top of the set, grab a vase full of flowers and pour it on its head, and I mean, just total mayhem. Those things were really funny.
I remember that. Oh my God.
It was one time it was supposed to pull me in off of, like, I was on a shipwreck, and it was like going to save me and rehabilitate me. And so I was lying face down, like on the sand with like water lapping up, and these like shirtless, of course, and like shorts all distressed, like
I like the of course,
right,
Of course.
And so like Precious comes over, and it's supposed to like grab me and like pull me in, and it just goes like this and takes its finger and plunges it right in my butt. Dude, so hard. I was like, oh my God. It was like totally violated by an orangutan.
So ladies, which one had their shirt off the most?
Ooh.
All of them.
Oh, hard to say.
All of
I think
them.
everyone.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty equal.
I'm not sure if I ever wore a shirt.
I remember summertime. Whenever that storyline in the summertime was, you knew it was time to take your shirt off for like 3 months.
Oh
You
yeah.
show up set and we built a 3-story apartment complex, and of course it has a pool. So go ahead and take your shirt off, and we'll see you in 2 months. Or playing baseball, basketball. You can't have shirts on. I mean, that's
Dude,
how
remember
it
that?
was.
That's a perfect example. We played baseball, shirts and skins. You don't play baseball with your shirt off. You said it in a second.
Oh yeah.
You don't do it. You don't
Yeah,
do
the
it.
shirts didn't exist for you guys.
Brooke, and remember when you were shot? And
Or three guys opening. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, we had to take her to the hospital when she was shot, and we were all shirtless for some reason.
I remember that scene.
We
Seeing
had
that.
to make tourniquets for her to
that.
stop the bleeding with our shirts, of course. And after 4 days in the hospital, running around the hospital naked practically, I remember Lisa Kazat finally just going, "All right, put shirts on, and this is ridiculous." This is going up to doctors, but shirtless, like, is she gonna be okay? Doctors,
Well, yeah. I mean, that was
Eyes
the
up
thing
here.
too, because like the scenes or days would go on for like a month, literally the same day.
Yeah.
So if you didn't have a shirt on, you were like, dude, I don't have a shirt on this month.
Yeah.
Because it would go
Exactly.
forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed, by the way, in daytime.
Oh no, shirts are still off. Yeah.
Optional.
Is there a scene, each of you, whether it was Brooke and Lindsay or the couples, that stands out in your mind as one of the more difficult scenes to do and one of the most fun to do? Or you couldn't get through it. It doesn't have to be fun. It could have been Eric and Lindsay just cracking each other up.
I actually remember not a positive fun scene, but when I was with Brooke and we were doing the abortion, where my character had to get deciding about getting an abortion. And I remember it was really hard for me. And it's funny because I had all these crazy storylines and even I had to try to kill myself and which was another insane one. But that one I felt was the most real, because our stories were so outlandish that it was almost easy to have all those emotions for it and not really, it was so fake, but that one was actually one of the more real storylines, and that one I remember that one was a hard one. But I had Brooke and I will second what Charles said. Brooke is pretty much the most present you can be with in personal life and on screen.
Thank you.
Anybody else your favorite or more difficult scenes?
The tsunami sequence was pretty wet.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Those are rough.
I thought it would be a load of fun until you're sitting outside with completely wet clothes, eating lunch. We were wet for a long time.
Yeah.
I think our bar of outlandish stuff was just so broad that it was any of it could have been. We all had to do such crazy stuff.
Yeah, I'm just listening to all of your stories, and I'm thinking if anybody, if we were out at a restaurant and somebody was, eavesdropping on our conversation right now, they would be like, "Who are these crazy people?"
Yeah.
That actually did happen to me. Walking into Home Depot, talking to my mom one day, telling her about my day on set and my storyline and how I'd gone to jail. But I got out and I'm good now. And I remember a guy walking past us, going into Home Depot, was gave me this look of fear. And I was like, oh my God, maybe I shouldn't talk about these storylines as we're out and about because they're so weird.
So funny. So 3 of you have kids. Do I have that right or more?
I got some.
Kids.
Oh, you all
Everybody's
do.
got kids.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
sorry.
always late to the party. I've got a 3-year-old, so you guys are all
Well, so then you
Figuring
probably
this out.
won't be able to answer this as well as the rest. Any of your children following in your footsteps?
No.
Yeah.
Well, my son's an actor. He's an actor.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because and a successful one.
He's still
Yeah.
working,
What is it like? What is it like watching him? Seeing his
It's
success.
ridiculous because now it's he's a grown man, right? So he doesn't need me for anything. So when I watch, it's really I'm watching as a fan. I used to know all the lines, know where he's going, what the callback is. But now I don't know anything, and I just get to be a fan and watch him. And it's hard to be hands off, but in a way, I love it. It's nice. It's really nice.
And Galen, you think you're one of yours?
Yeah. So my son was really focused on music, but he's going to he booked a lead in a film, which is his first job.
Wow.
So he's kind of like me, no idea what the hell he's doing, and now he's got this whole huge, so he's gonna go shoot that in New York in August. So so that's gonna be kind of crazy. But yeah, so we're just trying to get him, ready for that, and he's just kind of realizing it's a lot, but he's going to be great in it. So yeah, we'll see.
Didn't you go to New York at 18?
I did, but yeah, he's only 12. I mean, he'll be 13 by the time, and he's also in 70 pages of this film or whatever.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be cool.
Yeah.
Or not.
It must be fun.
Yeah, well.
Eric, Lindsay, and Galen, what's it like working on Days of Our Lives?
Awesome.
It's pretty awesome. I mean, Galen and I went there at around the same time. I actually auditioned to be Rafael Hernandez, which is I don't know why you showed up for that. But no, G and I, we've been through a lot of life together. We both had 2 sons, and we both got Days of Our Lives, and It's been a good ride. I'm glad they have us there, and I'm really thankful. This train has just not stopped. I think I've had the last 20 years I've been off maybe 6 months.
Unbelievable.
So it's been a blessing. Absolutely, I'm so thankful for it, and the Passions train started it all.
Yeah.
It's been great.
Wow.
Galen loves his job over there.
Well, and the three of you all had gone over there around the same time, or do I have the dates wrong?
I came like a year after, I think, and then I was only there for a year. Yeah.
But was
Too short.
Yeah,
working together must have been fun again, though.
Oh, it was incredible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was perfect. Yeah, it was such a blessing to pop in and be with them again. And yeah, I was very grateful for that opportunity.
And
our show's been bringing back characters from the dead pretty easily lately. So,
oh yeah.
if you want to come and play,
And Lindsay, you made your Broadway debut at 18, right?
Yeah, I was pretty young.
What do you remember about that? And it was Grease, right?
Yeah. Oh geez, what do I remember? I remember everything because I was so young and it was the first time leaving my home, just being super young compared to everybody else in the cast. And then just being in New York City and performing. It was really was a dream come true. So yeah, it was great. It was wonderful. It's hard to explain the experience like that. So I was, very fortunate.
Would you like to get back on stage?
Oh, sure. I loved it. I mean, that's kind of what sold me on performing was being on stage and just that moment where you could look out to the audience and everyone's paying attention to you and that pressure, that adrenaline rush, is kind of what got me hooked. And I think that's kind of what's always propelled me as a performer is that adrenaline. I love that challenge that you have to move forward and you've got no time to think and you just have to go. So I really enjoy that aspect.
Well, I usually ask everybody, and I'd love to know from everybody, who or what influenced you on becoming an actor? Lindsay, you can start.
Oh, geez. Well, like I said, I kind of started with musicals. So everything was, back to Natalie Wood. That's a great example. I fell in love with her, watching her, Judy Garland. Just the magic of the storytelling that they told and the passion behind their work. And that's kind of what got me hooked.
I just watched her documentary this week. So random. Did you see her documentary?
Natalie Wood?
Yeah, the HBO.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, pretty intense. Brooke, for you?
Oh, wow. Well, I was back in Indiana and just doing local print stuff. And then we came out to visit a friend of ours that lived in California. And we were like, maybe we should try acting or whatever. And we went to his agency and they said, yeah, we'll sign you if you come. And then we're like, okay. And I wanted to have more kids. And I was like, well, let's try it for a few weeks. And then we can go back to Indiana. And then we ended up staying. And I went to the Meisner School for 2 years. And I booked Passions right before I graduated.
Wow.
Crazy.
Galen got it before graduation. You got it before graduation.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah.
Impressive. McKenzie, for you, who or what influenced?
I started acting at a really, really young age. I did my first commercial when I was a year and a half. And then I was Robert De Niro's daughter in Raging Bull at 3. So I started super young and then went through a very shy period. And my mom, I guess being Canadian, wasn't really into the therapy thing. So she put me in acting classes. And that's what kind of got me out of my shell and got me into this love of acting. But Broadway was always my goal, and that's where I was torn when Passions came along because here I'd been accepted to Juilliard and all these places, and I wanted to go to Broadway. That was my dream. But the deans called me and said, "You'd be stupid to come here. You've been offered a job of a lifetime." So really for me, the person that inspired me was somebody that my dad had worked with briefly was Michael Crawford. And that was the man that inspired me to be like, okay, this is definitely what I want to do to whatever capacity. I don't care, but this is what I want to do.
Wow. At such a young age. That's incredible. And still doing it.
Yeah.
Still
doing it.
Great. Yeah. Eric, for you?
I had a crush on a girl. True story. And I heard she was going to be in the musical. So I told my buddies on the soccer team, I'm going to go audition for the musical. And they made fun of me for it. And I said, well, I hear the rehearsals go till like 10 p.m. sometimes at night. So come on, this will be great. Auditioned for Grease. And I was thrown a curveball, and I was cast as Danny Zuko. And I immediately went to the director and I said, I don't want to like be Danny. I just want to come to the rehearsals in the back and like do Grease light. It's like, try it. And I tried it and fell in love with the whole thing accidentally. And it became what I do now. So yeah, it was literally a crush. That's what inspired me.
That's awesome.
It's a great story. I've heard it from many actors that it was, girls in, theater program and following them into the theater program. And then boom, you get the bug,
Hot. What can I say? They're just...
Charles, for you?
Yeah, I mean, similar to Brooke, I started off doing print. I remember I booked like a commercial for the first time. First time I was on a proper set, and just the focus and the energy that went into every single second of the performance, and about all the craftsmen and all the people who were at the top of their game making this like 30 seconds happen. I had to figure out how to replicate that in a bigger and bigger scale and do it as many times as possible. That one moment of figuring out like this, every second, every syllable was done to perfection. And then there's something about that I really loved.
But now you got out of the business and you're a newscaster. Was that something you all were always interested in?
No, I mean, this is one of those things where, acting is storytelling, right? And I've kind of fell in love with telling real stories of real people, and I think that's the core of all these stories, of all these crazy storylines, from tsunamis to orangutan love. I mean, they all distill down to like real people and being affected in real life, right? So, I kind of searched that out and got lucky and chose a different career path. Like, I get to tell everybody's real stories, for better or for worse. For worse a lot of times, but it's the core is the same. Just the output, and I perform live every day, 4 hours every morning. So I'm on stage a different way every single day.
Are there news people who you admire, who you?
Yeah, I mean, Lester Holt was always that guy. He was the kind of the representative of a strong Black, figure that was, on top of the world, delivering the world's information every single day. And that's the one person that I always saw. I never thought I could, follow in footsteps, but he is that one person that I admire the most.
Not Ron Burgundy.
Oh, well. I said admired, not inspired by. Inspired by Ron Burgundy, and I admire Mr. Holt. We're trying to marry the two a little bit,
I love that. Tell everybody who's watching today the station you're on, so they, if they're in your neck of the woods.
Well, Spectrum News. If you're in Texas, I'm on Spectrum News 1 Texas. They have Spectrum News in every single market, but we cover the state of Texas. So every morning, from 4 to 8, I'm on Spectrum News 1. Wow. We make you if you have Spectrum cable, you have to watch us every day.
Charles, what time do you get to work or get up?
Sorry,
what time do you
get to work or get up?
I get to work. I'm at work at 3 o'clock every morning.
Oh, shit.
So crazy shit is like. Yeah.
So what time do you go to bed?
I go to bed at like 7:30. So I go to bed before my 3-year-old goes to bed every single night. Yeah. Wow. And I've been doing this for the past 8 years on that schedule. So it's a mission.
Commitment, man.
Wow, that is commitment.
That's 5 days a week.
Yeah, 5 days a week. Yeah, 5 days.
Then on the weekends, is it hard to like
regulate? Stay awake.
Yeah, I mean, like if it's midnight and you're up, you're like, whoa.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Friday is the day that I reset. I reset the clock on Friday, and then try to have like a normal Saturday, and then reset it on Sunday. It's it's all those systems, man. It's survival is what it is. But yeah,
legend.
So I don't have dinner with friends. I don't have late night drinks. I don't do any of that stuff.
Wow.
It's pretty sad.
Late night drinks, you wouldn't be going to sleep.
Come back to LA.
if you'd have to be up at 3:30. Yeah. Yeah. Galen, for you, was acting something you wanted to do? Because I think, weren't you studying directing or producing at Miami?
Yeah, correct. I was. It was something that I had done when I was younger. I was growing up in LA, and then decided that I just wanted to be a little bit more, I guess, in control to certain of the destiny that I was on, and I always wanted to get a degree. And so that just sort of dovetailed into writing and directing, and was studying English too. So those are my majors. The funny thing was at the University of Miami at the time, they had very antiquated equipment. It was all just banged out cameras and stuff. But the news department, right, had these cool cameras, and then you had Avid software. You could use all this stuff. So I was like, I kind of created a different major. I was using all the news equipment. So I was around all this broadcast journalism majors. But I guess, Charles, you didn't study that? That just happened that you ended up basically doing that, right?
It's experience, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm pretty familiar with that because so many people went into that I was in college with. No, I didn't. The acting thing really just was kind of thrust in my lap, and like Eric said before, thank God the show was patient. I definitely thought within 6 months I'd be off the show, but I'd be back in LA, and then I would start on my other path to direct. And lo and behold, here we are. It's 20 whatever years later. It's been on this incredible run.
22 years later since it started. Yeah, since Passion started. Do you still want to direct?
I do, but I love. Look, the life we have is very demanding, and I also know how demanding directing is. And if I find the right story, or if I ended up writing all these stories that I say that I'm going to write and finally do, then yeah, of course. But I know how demanding it is, and there's just a lot of other things I'm doing right now. So, but yeah, I think I would be good at it ultimately. I'm so impressed with what Lindsay's doing actually right now. She's just working nonstop, just crushing it. So she's kind of, to a certain degree, like I look at her, I'm like, you can do it. Like there's an inspiration. So thanks for the inspiration, kid.
Is that something you always wanted to do, Lindsay?
No, I didn't. I didn't even ever think that I'd ever be a director ever. But this is definitely what I want to be. Like I finally found what I want to be when I grow up. It just took me quite a long
time. How did that happen?
I went from acting to writing for a company that sells movies to Lifetime and stuff. So I wrote a bunch of thrillers. Then I started writing rom-coms, and I got 10 movies produced in like 2.5 years. I'm a hard worker. And then I just, while I was writing these thrillers, I thought, well, I wonder if I could direct. Like now I'm writing, and I never went to school for writing. And I thought, well, might as well try it. So I spent a year thinking about it because it's a big, scary shift. And I thought, well, if I still want to direct in a year, then I'll try it. And then I did. And here I am, and I'm freaking obsessed. I love it.
Well, it's awesome. Like everybody says, we need more women directors. It's incredible. Well, you need to write a passions thriller. I think you have a built-in audience. People would go crazy. People would go crazy for it. McKenzie, I know your parents were makeup artists. Is that sort of where Westmore Beauty comes from?
For sure. My dad, my family actually invented Hollywood makeup over 100 years ago. That was they started it all. There was no such thing as a makeup artist when film started in Hollywood. And when my great grandfather came over from England, he was the wig maker to the royal court, Winston Churchill's barber and his best friend. He brought all that he knew to Hollywood at the time, opened up a shop on Sunset. Adolphe Menjou was filming Three Musketeers, accidentally shaved off part of his mustache, ran into the family shop, didn't know what to do. My great grandfather sewed together a piece of hair lace wig, glued it on, and that was the birth of a makeup artist. So that's where that history is what really always got me. It always inspired me through the years. My grandfather, he did Breakfast at Tiffany's, Gone with the Wind. My family did Creature from the Black Lagoon. I mean, all the big iconic films, over 1,000 films. And then my family was granted a star on the Walk of Fame in 2008. My dad then, through his years, he was always the one that I would look to as my inspiration, because he, was such a hard worker. And I saw him 18 years on Star Trek, and he was Elizabeth Taylor's personal makeup artist and Sylvester Stallone's personal, and just seeing his work ethic always inspired me so much. And then to see him win 9 Emmys and an Oscar and the Guinness Book World Record of nominations, like all this crazy stuff. So going back to like Passions, when Passions went down, I didn't have a backup plan. So when I got onto Face Off, I thought, okay, I got a makeup show, I got a makeup family. I think it's time I create my own company and create a makeup line. So that's when I teamed up with Chemist, and we went into QVC 6 years ago, and the rest is history. I was on a plane almost every week to Philadelphia for the longest time, and now this is my setup. This is my studio now, and I just Skype into QVC. I'm back on at the 17th actually, and I sell to 5 million people whenever I go on, and that's it. I love it.
That's amazing. Do you ever do QVC with Terry Khan?
Yes, of course. Yes. In fact, before COVID happened, she and I finally got to connect on set, and we were on together. And we were just on recently together. But yeah, I love Terry. She's a sweetheart.
Yeah, me too. We worked together on As the World Turns. She's great.
Hey, Matt.
She's amazing.
You sent something to Jenna that she was raving about the other day. She's like, oh, I put this on. She's always like, thanks. Collecting dust. But she was raving about it. I don't know if she told her. I was like, well, you should tell her. She was freaking out.
Yes, I want to know which product it is.
I think it was like something for like you put on your legs or something that just makes it look like you're
the body coverage. We have an infomercial that's running around the clock. Like every time people will say like, yeah, you were in my hotel room, or yeah, I saw you at the gym, because there's an infomercial on that product.
Yeah.
It's like I wish there were like 1 million of those now.
She can totally do a testimonial.
I need awesome. Jenna then. Tell her to call me.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that, McKenzie. That's incredible, and what a history. I mean, that's really something. Brooke, I want to ask you, General Hospital. What's your experience like in Port Charles?
Oh, I'm loving it. It's amazing. Talk about pace. They were very patient with us on Passions, but General Hospital is bam, boom, bam, bam. It's I don't know if because it's been so long, but the pace is intense. So it was definitely a little bit of a boot camp, kind of getting back into it, getting my brain back online of learning lines like that. But yeah, I'm loving it. I have a daughter on the show now, and I love working with her. It's the first time I've really been able to play a parent, and she's about to find her Chad. So I know that I'm going to be the whole, it's just all repeating itself, and it's pretty hysterical.
What goes around comes around. It's great.
Yes. Fido even was saying to me the other day, he's like, now you know how Tracy always feels.
Wait, do you work with Fido over there?
Yeah, Fido's there.
Yeah.
Oh, will you tell him I said hi, please?
I will.
Me too.
I will.
Yeah. He was the nicest, coolest cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few people over there. I'll tell them you guys said hi.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
Is there anything I missed that that I didn't ask that fans would love to know? I was going to ask, is there something about each other, that you're able to share that would surprise people watching about any of these folks? Aaron's totally he's got like his mustache.
No, I'm anticipating the answers. Yeah.
Well,
I do not have a body coverage makeup company. I think people. That's a big surprise. Don't know anything about it.
Well, I know the best way to make Lindsay's day is to say that I'm older than her. You see the poor joy that's on her face right now?
That is so funny.
Although she looks like way younger, kind of
But we get
ruins
together,
it.
we get together and it's like she really can't complain too much about certain stuff because I'm like, just stop. Like, no, you can't. You're complaining to the wrong person. Everything. It's like she's so excited that, well, I'm younger than you.
I do have that.
That's great. Eric Kelly says you don't need any body coverage. Before I let you go, Brooke and Lindsay, were your characters set out from the beginning to be friends?
Yeah, best friends from like day one. Yeah, we were best friends from day one.
And the two of you have been best friends since day one.
I mean, it took to build a relationship.
Yeah, but
I'll be with her forever, 100%.
Yeah,
I love that.
She checks on me no matter what.
Yeah, she's on my back. So yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you all so much for doing this today. I know the fans were really excited. 22 years since the show made its debut. And, you three couples. Oh, that's what I'll ask. Because, I mean, daytime fans make such an impression. You're in their living room 5 days a week. Is there a moment or something that stands out? I mean, Lindsay, you talked about the abortion story. I would assume you heard from fans after that, just some of the storylines. Is there something that stands out in anybody's mind of, hearing from fans about how this show touched them or?
Yeah, I mean, I would speak to that because having this character that's sort of like always trying to do the right thing and whatever. And I think at times for me, it was like super boring. Like, okay, here we go again. But ultimately, one of the things that I learned where I really began to admire was that this character would always, no matter what he was up against, carry on. Like he would persevere through the worst. And, that was part of like going up against the Cranes and all that stuff. And ultimately, like people really found that uplifting that this character did that. And I was able to learn from that. And so like that was part of my personal journey that was also interwoven with the character that was pretty interesting and a gift of being on a show that you can be on so long, because some things you have to learn over a long period of time, I guess. And that was a pretty special thing for me to have people come up and be like, wow, your character, thank you for inspiring me. I know he never gives up and thus I try and keep going every day.
That's awesome. Anybody else?
Yeah, in a general sense, I just think my favorite moments are the people that come up that either had a loved one in the hospital or they were in the hospital dealing with something, and they said that the best hour out of their day, the one thing that kept them going through, whether it was their chemotherapy or whatever they were going through, was that show with the witch and the monkey and the whatever. And, there were years that I questioned. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Am I doing anything worthwhile? Is this worthwhile? Yeah, it is, because of stories like that, for people to be able to escape for a minute out of their hardships. That makes me feel pretty good about being a part of these daytime dramas. So that's what I wanted to add.
You do. I will add, you make a difference. And, here we are talking about a show that's been off the air, for a number of years. And there, the questions keep coming in and fans are here to see your faces. So you definitely left an impression. And I thank you all so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Great to see you guys.
Wow. And then good to see everybody.
Yeah.
To the fans too, by the way, for still writing every single day through social media and letting us know how much you love and miss the show. So thanks.
Awesome.
Rebooted any minute.
Right.
Yeah. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
There we go. Thank you, everybody, for watching today. Thank you to Ava Bassler for putting this together. And thank you to everybody from Passions for being here today. I really appreciate it. I know the fans appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, you can do so down below. Turn on the notifications to get reminders of all upcoming shows. I will see you on Wednesday with Sean Kanan. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.